Hello, welcome to another weekly video. Um, Today I'm going to be talking about the wilderness, and I do want to stress that, again, I think I've said this before, but I'm not any kind of pastor or teacher, and I don't know um, a lot about um, being a pastor or teacher. I've never done any of those things. I don't have any certificates or degrees or anything like that in pastoring. So I don't want any of this to sound like it's coming from anything certified. It's just things that I've learned from my own experience. And also, I think I've said before that this is kind of the stuff that I would like to hear in church myself. Um, so that's all any of this is. I don't want anybody to take this as um, it's you know necessarily the right way to live life or anything like that. It's just something you can um, take into your mind and consider, and if it's useful for you, that's great. So, um, just saying that ahead of time when I talk about things related to God, that's where I stand. So today, talking about the wilderness is something that's mentioned in the Bible a few times, um, and a lot of people will talk about it. A lot of Christians, I guess, will talk about how they go through a wilderness experience. I can't tell you if that's something that like everybody goes through. I mean, I feel like if you've ever gone through a bad experience, you can call it the wilderness. So yeah, I would say most people do go through it, because I tend to think everybody goes through something bad, but um, trying to shape it more towards like what's in the Bible. There's two examples I can think of specifically. Um, and I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of the details. Feel free to look it up on your own. But there's um, there's a story in the Old Testament about the Israelites going through the wilderness after they were slaves to Pharaoh for a number of years. And the story describes them being in the wilderness for 40 years. And so I would kind of define the wilderness as a time of really um, being unhappy, a lot of unpleasantness, bad experiences, things that are really difficult to go through in life. Um, if you look at that example specifically with the Israelites, I think they wandered the desert basically in a circle for about 40 years. And, there was a lot of suffering, death. If anybody sinned, sometimes there were plagues and deaths for hundreds of people, things like that. So it was just a real time of like, I guess you could call it testing and pain and things like that. Unfortunately, we as humans learn a lot through pain, so that's kind of what I gathered from that story. And of course, there's another example where Jesus in the New Testament went into the wilderness for 40 days and nights, um, basically to be tested, um, I guess to be to go to a better place as a human being, as Jesus. I mean, he had to be tested. I guess in the same way that all humans are tested. I kind of gather that from Jesus coming to Earth was basically to go through all the trials of human beings, um, to kind of live through the experience and give us help when we look back through the Bible about it. But um, anyway, I'm trying to give some kind of reference to the things that we go through as human beings in our own lives. I think we all tend to go through some type of wilderness, like I was saying before. And I used to look at the Bible, and I would look at those examples specifically, and I would think about, you know, what is my wilderness going to be like? Is it going to be 40 days and 40 nights? Is it going to be 40 years? I mean, who really knows? I think we tend to want to think that our lives are not going to be 40 years of suffering, you know. So you kind of just look at it like, oh, well, maybe it'll only be 10 years, maybe it'll only be 5 years, you know. What's it really going to look like? But as I've gotten older, the more I've learned is like, um, wilderness is not as black and white as I used to think. There's not like a period of time where it's like, um, well, I was going to say it's not a period of time where it's just suffering that and that's it. Um, I guess what I used to think it was there was suffering for a period of years and then there's just never suffering again. And I guess what I've come to learn now is like there is a period of like really pure suffering in life where you just feel like there's no one to turn to and it's just a really really difficult time. But it's not when you get to that end of the suffering, you don't just walk out and never have suffering again. So I kind of look at it more now as like wilderness. The wilderness is really just in stages. There's a period of time where well, specifically my life, there was a period of time where the wilderness was just really bad, like a level 10. And then when I look at my life now, it's probably come up a few levels. Well, 10 being the worst, and then it's kind of come up to like level 8 maybe. Um, so I just kind of look at like life is all a wilderness. Maybe there is a time one day in my life where I won't really feel like it's wilderness level 9 or 8. Maybe there is a day where it just won't feel like wilderness at all. But I tend to feel more like it's just all a lot of suffering and pain. So I mean, maybe that sounds negative, but um, I mean, there's still plenty to be thankful for. I think that's my point. Like, um, when I was living at home with my mother and my stepdad, that's what I would call like the wilderness level 10, and it was by far the worst thing I've ever been through. I didn't feel like I had anywhere to turn. I felt like I was just clueless all the time. I didn't know what to do, and always just reacting to my situation. And and then when I got out and got married, it was probably just a level 9. So it got better. Is my point. Like I don't want it to sound bad when I say like life is a wilderness. Like I don't really feel like that's a bad thing because you can always look back and see where it was worse. I mean, even being like in a wilderness level 8 now, I'm still more thankful to be where I'm at now than I was. And maybe that's the point of the wilderness, really, is to go through something so terrible that when you finally start getting out of it, you're just thankful you're not there anymore. But um, it's not really that clear in the Bible. They just kind of call it the wilderness, and when you talk to other Christians, they'll talk about how they were in the wilderness, a certain amount of years and stuff. And like I know what they're saying. Excuse me. I do think that when people refer to the wilderness, they are talking about the worst years of their life. I just kind of look at it now a little bit more like wilderness is in stages, like I was saying. So um, that's just how I view things, and I think we just need to realize that like life is just there's always going to be problems. It can just change depending on what your situation looks like. So I guess that's really where I'm going to end with that today. And I thank you for watching. Hope you have a good day.